Hey, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps, where, hey, you come here to learn what's going on in politics. We give the right of center view, and that's why it's called Three Conservative Gimps. So let's get this show going. Let's welcome my good buddy all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It is Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome, welcome.
Howdy, Art. Hello, everyone in the chat.
Howdy, howdy. And how's the weather out in your neck of the woods?
Snowing. We've got about 3.5, 4 inches of snow, and it's supposed to snow all night.
Oh,
So, yeah, you're talking about possibly 8 inches.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, we were supposed to get some snow here, but it happened mostly out east. Like at at the airport, they had to close down a few runways because it snowed so hard. So we didn't get any where I work. I work in Louisville, not Louisville, Kentucky, but Louisville, Colorado, which is up by Boulder, Colorado. And so it was just plain cold. Yes. So that's what we had to deal with. So let's go ahead and welcome our third wheel from the blue state of New York. Let's welcome Charles Gillespie. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, Art. Hey, Lloyd. Hey, everybody in the chat.
Hello, Charles. How you doing?
Howdy.
Duty.
Is it snowing there?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. Good.
Fecking cold, though.
I bet. I bet. So, all right. I mean, we got a ton to talk about. Let's start off with Justin Trudeau. He resigned, but he resigned from the party and not from his office.
He resigned as the head of his party, but technically he hasn't resigned as prime minister. There's a conservative. A lot of people are calling him the Canadian Donald Trump, and I, for the life of me, can't remember his name at the moment.
But he's been. I think his name is Polivier is his last name. Pierre Polivier.
Yeah, and he's been out there saying, the prime minister, because the way it works is when the prime minister resigns as the head of the party, usually he resigns as prime minister, and then they go to the governor general, who is the Queen's representative, or in England, they just go to the Queen and say they can no longer form a government and it's time to have new elections.
Well, we don't have a queen.
I said in Canada, and they go to the governor general, and in the UK, in England, they go to the Queen.
You said the Queen, but she's not around anymore.
Oh, that's right. It's King. All right. Okay.
Yeah. King Charles.
Good God. Well, there's been a queen all my life up until now, and they still got a queen. I mean, what's his name hasn't died yet, has he? The piano man or whatever he is.
Elton John. Yeah.
Elton John's still the Queen of England.
He is
the only Queen of England at the moment. But anyways, But so they go to the king and they say they can't form, or well, in the UK they do. In Canada, they go to the king's representative, which is the governor general. They do, same as hey Brian.
Hey.
The same as they do in Australia and some of the other Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
So right now the government is basically deadlocked because Trudeau apparently is Trudeau. Yeah, Trudeau is underground. Trudeau is under his desk.
Okay. Trudeau. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yet. They can't get him out, and they're trying to get a government formed. They're trying to get elections so that they can, as the Pierre, whatever his name is, said.
Polivier.
Yeah, why don't they learn English so they could, get their
Well,
phones
because
working?
they got a lot of French people there.
Yeah, well, send them back to France. That's what we're trying to do with some of our foreign invaders. But anyways, but yeah, so there's some problems with that, and uh, he wants to have an election so that because after Donald Trump made those comments about it being the 51st state, well, he says,
Yeah.
he says, with the way our government's working right now, he says, we might as well be. He says, because we can't, this is,
Yeah.
he says, I'm sure it was meant as a tongue in cheek or at least a barb at our prime minister. And, but I'd like to be able to say we had a fair election and we have something to show for that, such as, you know, uh, giving back, some of the freedom of speech and maybe even some of their
Right.
gun rights,
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and so it looks like there's a conservative conservative wave going to happen, but it's just, yeah, that guy right there.
Yep. Yeah.
I've heard a couple of his interviews, and he's really does a really good job. I mean,
Yes,
he
he
says the right
does.
stuff,
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
right now
Yeah.
he's sort of the de facto leader because nobody else,
Right.
and I think I think one of his challengers might be the guy with the blue turban and the beard.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
he's been spouting off some stuff too. Something
Right.
seeing.
Yeah. The thing, the most famous video that Pierre has done is the one where he's being interviewed and he's eating an apple. You've probably seen that where the reporter is trying to, oh, some people say, and he goes, yeah, what people? And he takes a bite out of the apple.
Yes.
And it just
Yeah.
one right after another. And he goes, yeah, who? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought was brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. He seems to be a pretty savvy politician. And
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and he seems to really have the citizens of Canada in, he's thinking, the people first,
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
at this rate, they might as well become a state because they're about as organized as California is right now. So we might as
Yeah.
well
Yeah,
add
they are.
Canada to the mix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Trudeau, he's the one that froze the assets of the truck drivers.
Not just froze the assets, he jailed a lot of them.
Ooh, boy.
They without trial. Sort of like
Wow.
sort of like the J6 people,
Right. Right. Mhm.
I did hear the other day, they Congress went ahead and, validated the votes and everything,
Right.
certified all the votes. And now I've heard that day called Jan-teenth.
Chanting.
Yeah, Jan-teenth. Yeah. January 6th is now being turned into Jan-teenth. Greg Gutfeld called it that. So
Okay. And he's a pretty smart guy. Really like
yeah.
him. That's why his show is #1 late night talk show. Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look what but there's Fallon and Kimmel. He doesn't have any competition.
And Colbert.
Again, he has no competition.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Colbert is like,
Oh, I know.
I mean, what did he do? I mean, didn't he do like a on a Comic Central
Yeah, he
pretended to
was.
be a reporter on Comic?
I think he was part of that Jon Stewart Daily Show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and Kimmel has shot himself in the foot. He pushed for ABC to because he was supposed to have Sylvester Stallone on for an
Mm-hmm.
interview. And he pushed ABC, said, no, I want to cancel. I'm not going to do him. I'm not going to. And then went on and made a personal attack after Stallone. And now he caught so much flack that his show is,
Ooh.
and ABC reached out to
Stallone.
Stallone, and he basically said F Kimmel,
Uh-huh. Yep.
He says, no. He says, all you're doing is trying to, he says, you're just doing you're just trying to clean up his mess. And no,
Yeah.
if you
Mea
were really
culpa.
concerned, huh?
Yep. Mea culpa.
Yeah. Yeah. He says,
Yeah.
if you were just trying to really be concerned, but you're just trying to cover yourself, and I could care less. He says, I won't be on there. He said, don't bother calling me again.
Right. Right.
Maybe if they
Right.
got rid of Kimmel, they might be able to get more guests.
Well, he said he was going to leave after if Trump got reelected, or he talked about this was going to be his last season.
Well, it's not
So,
coming soon enough for a lot of people.
yeah, so we'll see how that works out.
They couldn't even get any guests to fill in the slot. That was the problem. They started calling people, and none of them are wanting to be on his show.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, now I remember back in the day when Johnny Carson ran that, and that was like the cream of the crop. I mean, the top echelon. Comics would get on that show, and a lot of comics careers were launched on that show.
Look
now,
at it took Jeff Dunham 9 tries before he even was good enough to get on that show.
Right.
That's how
Right.
they had a guy that this guy went and traveled all over the country watching these acts, and and matter of fact, once he did he was getting ready to be on there, told all his family, I'm going to be on there. I made it to Carson, and then the night before, this guy went and saw one of his routines, and it didn't move the crowd. And they called him up and said the next morning, because he calls up and said, I hadn't heard from him. What time am I supposed to be there? Said, you're not ready yet, kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they ended up bringing some. It was during like Christmas time, so they brought in some old 80-year-old bell ringer named Noel or some crap like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but when Johnny Carson ran, when he was in charge of late night, he was
right.
There were a lot of people that wanted to be on there. There's a lot of people who, he banned from there because of their actions, but he was,
Mm-hmm.
but
then came Letterman. He was pretty good for a while, but towards the end of his career there, he just got, very partisan and
well, I quit watching him when he insulted Captain Jean-Luc Picard. What was his name? Patrick
Stewart.
Yeah, when he insulted the hell out of him one night on a show, and it's just like, that's the last time I'll watch this show.
Okay.
Except when he had his very last show, then I came on and watched it because that meant he was leaving. But of course, he went to CBS because they gave Leno the
right. Yeah, they gave Leno. He did a really good job, I thought, and there was some weird stuff going on there where he left and Conan O'Brien was supposed to take over, and Conan was only there for a short period, and then
he was only on there for about maybe a month or so at the most.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Leno came back and did it for another few years until Jimmy Fallon came along, and like they said, Jimmy Fallon, he doesn't do politics like Colbert and Kimmel. He does song and dance, and while Kimmel was trashing Stallone, he was doing what is that, lip sync challenge or something like that with one of the stars, so it's like, yeah. And I don't mind watching him because sometimes that's funny, some of the stuff he does is funny, but
well, I remember him from back at MTV. back in
Oh,
the
yeah.
early 80s, mid 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
a lot heavier back then. And then
Yes, he was. Yes. Yes, he
some of the
was.
stuff that he did on MTV would have gotten him fired today.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Me Too movement would have just canceled him right away.
Oh, yeah. Cancel culture and Me Too and all of
Yeah.
that other garbage. But yeah.
Mhm.
So,
All righty. Let's see what else came about. We had Biden decided to give out some medals. Yes, Presidential Medal of Freedom. And Lloyd, who were those recipients?
well, I don't know all of them, but I know the two most atrocious ones, and that would be Hillary Clinton and George friggin' Soros. What kind of
Right,
nutcase is he?
right,
That guy, he was a Nancy collaborator,
right.
you know,
Nazi collaborator.
you
And
know,
how
and
could
this
you give a Medal of Freedom? I mean, there's that word there, freedom.
freedom,
And
yeah,
nothing he did when he was a kid was about freedom. It was about authoritarianism
yes,
or
yeah,
dictatorship.
and that's the same thing. He's been backing these judges and stuff, and these politicians and these DAs that are allowing their cities to burn down, or they're prosecuting people unnecessarily, or and
Yep,
allowing people out and rampant crime in all these cities. And these are all people
right.
backed by George Soros. He's done a
Yep,
lot for people's individual freedoms. I can see that. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
What a crock.
his vision is to change the United States to become more like Europe, you know, and
Yeah, he
there's a
wants
reason
socialism.
why Europeans wanted to come here.
Hey,
They
Ronnie.
want, hey, Ronnie, they wanted to get away from all that crap in Europe. They had to deal with atrocious monarchies that were, you know, treating their citizens like crap, especially the old Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was
Right.
the Habsburg Empire. And what was different about that country is there were so many different ethnic groups. Where Germany, you know, before that was the Holy Roman Empire, where
Right.
they elected their kings, but
Right.
then they got together and said, you know, let's consolidate, and we speak the same language and
Right.
very similar cultures, and we'll get all these principalities together, and we'll make one big country, and we'll call it. Well, at first it was called Prussia,
Russia. Yeah.
and then after the Franco-Prussian War, I think it became Germany, or right around the turn of the century, I think it became.
When was it? Austria, Germany. That was that during World
Austria.
Austria, Germany, or Germany, Austria? They were one country at one time, and then
Oh,
they
that
split
was
back.
yeah, just before World War II.
Yeah,
That was
just before
called
World War II. Yeah,
Anschluss. Anschluss. Yeah, where he annexed Austria.
right, right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's where,
because
you know, Adolf Hitler was supposed to be this pure Aryan German, and he was Austrian. He wasn't German.
yeah, that's
He was
right.
from Austria. Yeah, he
Yep,
wasn't even
I
German.
think it was from some town outside Vienna.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was a wannabe artist. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if somebody, what do you think the world would be like had somebody given him a chance with his art?
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah, World War II never would have happened.
Yep.
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
never look down your nose at an art and a struggling artist, because you may be
Mm-hmm.
looking at the next Adolf Hitler if you ain't careful.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
I've seen some of his work, and it's not too bad. Just that you know, the people, you know, the higher ups, they just look at this
Well, that's
peasant.
because you're looking at an aristocracy type.
Right.
rule. They were
Right.
ruled by the aristocracy of Europe, and yeah, they're going.
Mhm.
He was an Austrian. He was not anybody
Yeah.
to speak, and so naturally his stuff was, it wasn't avant-garde enough.
Yeah,
Avant-garde.
that was the problem. Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was more traditional,
Yep.
Yeah.
realism. I think it
Yeah.
was. He wasn't into this.
Yes.
What is it? Objectionism, or what was,
Uh, uh,
like Picasso, where he was.
I think
my
wasn't Picasso a, oh, I almost wanted to say cubist, but
Yeah, he was that,
yeah,
but he was. He went in a different direction, and that's when
yeah,
a lot of people were starting to copy
impressionist.
impressionists. Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
impressionist. I couldn't think of the word either, Art. It just took me. I was going to let you keep stumbling until mine either
Uh,
worked or it didn't. So,
right, right.
but
And
hey, look, it's working for George Bush. He's staying out of politics. Just let him stay down there in Texas and keep painting
yep,
his little
keep
pictures. I
painting
don't care.
pictures. Yep.
Yeah. He's
Hmm.
not aging well either, because that'll be a segue into
No.
what we're going to talk about either. The last images I
Right.
saw of him.
And yes, we have a funeral today for Jimmy Carter, who set a record, the oldest living president, lived to be 100 years old, and
Yep.
George H.W. Bush came in second as 94.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't
Yep.
think Biden is going to make it that far.
I don't
He's going to
think
be the
so.
oldest serving president, but he's not going to make it the
Yeah,
oldest living
right.
president. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh,
But
so now, who was missing from the funeral?
the former first lady, when Biden was the vice president. So the former first lady, none other than Michelle Obama.
Ah, okay. She didn't
No
show
ex
up.
and nobody seemed to know why. This was even the ones that where they were some of the ones I saw, they said, "We're gonna have to look into that because there's no clue, why she wasn't there." All the
Oh,
other first ladies, former first ladies were there except, and even of the vice presidents, because you had Dan Quayle,
okay.
not looking bad, a little thin on top, lost, he's got that little monk's cap thing going on now. But
Uh-huh.
you wouldn't see it unless except he leaned forward to talk to somebody and the camera was up high and you're just like, "Oh, look
Uh-huh.
there."
Yep. Hmm.
He should have used some of that hairspray stuff that, cover it up and
Yeah,
it
there
nobody
you
would have
go.
noticed, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, there was, of course, Al Gore was there, but Tipper was not,
Al Gore.
obviously, because
Yeah.
uh, what other vice president is there? Oh, I know who wasn't there. Dick Cheney wasn't there. That's another one.
Oh, yeah, Dick
So
Cheney.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I think the only
Well,
vice
they were
presidents
afraid
that's,
he might shoot somebody.
yeah, well, yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pull.
Obama and Trump were laughing quite a bit for whatever reason. I guess because Michelle wasn't there. It pretty well because they were doing like the president, the wife, the president, the wife, and because Obama didn't have a wife, he was stuck sitting right next to Donald Trump
Ah,
because uh
yeah, because he was elected right after Obama, and
right,
then it was
right,
Biden. Then, yeah, and
yeah.
then he got
So
reelected.
we had Bill Clinton, then George W, and then Obama, and then Trump, and each one had their wife. Even Hillary's there, although yeah, she didn't look none too happy. What I
Yeah.
did notice though is it seemed like uh, Obama was coming around shaking everybody's hand, and
Mhm.
George Bush didn't shake his hand. So
Oh,
uh, Matter of
Wow.
fact, he reached around and he shook hands with Dan Quayle, and they chatted for a minute, but for the most part, he just sort of sat there. Laura, on the other hand, she stood up and, shook hands with everybody there, but he just went over and sat down like,
Wow. I thought
I
the
don't like none of these.
Obamas. Oh, that'd be Clinton and
Yeah, yeah,
Bush's.
and well, I think that might have been part of it because he was sitting right next to Hillary, so he just
Okay.
kind of sat there and looked around like, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if they're a former presidential candidate, they didn't get a seat at the table for losing. The only people that got a seat that got to sit in that number one seat was the winners. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, and
Now,
yes, there
yes.
was a loser. She was on the back rows along with Dan Quayle and
Ah.
Al Gore sitting right next to. On the other side of Al Gore was, of course,
Oh, were they at the kids' table?
They were in the row behind, yeah,
Okay.
and, Camel Toe and her husband, the nanny chaser were both there.
Oh, nanny chaser. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know his name, just yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so it was an interesting, like they were saying, this is a historical thing that you won't get to see very
Yes.
often, and,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I had for a second, I hesitated on Dan Quayle, and I thought, "Wait a minute, that's Dan Quayle." And what
Uh,
is he most famous for?
potato.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can say anything about the man. He is a political genius. I mean, he's really
Yeah, he's
smart,
a very
but he
bright
couldn't
guy.
spell potato, and that just sunk
Yeah.
him. Like,
Yeah, he got tripped up and it was, yeah.
is Dukakis dead now, or is he alive?
Uh, I
Only
think
reason
he's
I'm asking
gone.
because they did have losers back on that next row, so uh,
Uh,
thought maybe Dukakis might be there.
well, Dukakis wasn't vice president to anybody.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's alive anymore, but yeah, no, he
Yeah.
wasn't. He was
Yeah.
just he was the biggest loser.
And you didn't see Geraldine Ferraro either.
No,
No.
she's dead.
Yep. That's right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was interesting to see. I thought though the interaction was Jaybird uh
Jaybirds
said
here.
that,
Yeah.
the interaction between Obama and Trump was just really
Right?
unbelievable. And then they had uh they had the
The
President Biden gave a message for the eulogy, and he stumbled over it, to say the least. He
uh
One of
oh,
the things I saw him do, though, is he was talking about, protecting the freedoms of individuals and, protecting the Constitution and not being criminal with your power. And he looked right over at Donald Trump.
that Trump. Yeah.
He did it. He did it a couple of times. I thought, "Why, you
Wow.
scummy son of a bitch! This is a funeral,
Yeah.
and that's what you're going to do." That
Mm-hmm.
piece of shit just
Yeah. This is a guy who couldn't sing happy birthday.
yeah,
He
yeah.
forgot the words. How you forget the words to happy birthday?
I don't know.
Gee.
Kamala
Eh,
couldn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. How in the hell do you forget
yeah.
that?
Mm-hmm.
A former senator and a former vice president and a current vice president, and she couldn't say it. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
dang.
she just about said that. It was during it was when she was uh swearing in, I think it was, oh yeah, because the Speaker of the House, she was
Oh,
swearing
yeah,
in,
Mike Johnson.
yeah, she was mad at him. No, she was mad at JD Vance because he and somebody else were talking while she was swearing in. I can't remember who she was swearing in, but they were over there laughing, and she got mad, and she was pissed off at JD Vance
Uh,
for
mm,
laughing. She assumed
uh,
laughing at her because she couldn't say the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's when she was trying to say it. It's like, anyways, but yeah, it was an interesting piece of history,
right.
and the man that they were honoring today,
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a lot of different videos, and some people were putting him down. Why? Like I saw one person put up there, well, we got people dying overseas in these wars serving this country, and they don't get this kind of a funeral. And I just simply put up there, I said, let's not forget, he was a naval veteran. He was
Yes, that's
uh,
right.
yeah, he graduated from Annapolis,
Yep.
and uh, on top of being a president, and we do all of our presidents that way, but especially the ones that are veterans. He's the last.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's the last, unless
Yeah.
JD Vance wins. He's probably the
Oh,
last
yeah,
veteran
that's
president
right.
that
Mm-hmm.
that we'll have now.
Yep. Or Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, if they should, yeah, maybe later on, but right now,
Yeah.
he's the last of our veteran presidents.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And last World War II president as well.
Right. Right. That's right. And also Jimmy Carter. We're still feeling the repercussions of his administration right
The
now.
Middle East.
The Middle East, where and this is a guy who's has a deep faith in God, and and he believed those ayatollahs. He thought, oh, these are men of
Men of
God.
religion.
We should trust them, and they turned
Yeah.
out to be the biggest leches that on the planet, and they're
Yeah.
still causing trouble,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
hopefully under Donald Trump, maybe that regime will finally come to a close, because
With luck.
Russia's
Yeah.
not going to
Jimmy.
help them.
Yeah, Brian, you're right. He was always a very honorable man, and I think
Right.
as
I
a
believe.
man and a human being, and especially as an ambassador for humanity, he probably is the greatest former president. Well, he is, in my opinion. I served under him. He was my commander in chief, so
Mhm.
that's that's sort of a passing of the baton there too. But
Right.
a lot of us who served under him, he's not the and it's his policies and the way he ran the government. It was terrible serving under him. It just
Yep.
what he did to the military stripped us of so much.
Right.
We were talking about that on Paul's show today, and they're talking. Paul was asking about the military, or the boneyard for all of the aircraft.
Right.
And it's out in
Mm.
Tucson. Under
Mhm.
Jimmy Carter, one year, the budget was cut so bad that even there are certain things that carry over time after time after time. And
Right.
we ended up having to go out to the boneyard and cannibalize parts off of some of those old retired planes to put in the new ones that we're currently flying, because
Right.
we couldn't get the parts in. They were so far on back order, and there was no budget to pay for it. So
Right.
we'd load up, about once a week.
Mhm.
We'd head over there and just start grabbing parts we knew we were going to need. The supply guy,
Mm.
the supply sergeant said, "Hey, we're going to need these. We're out of this," and so we'd go over and we'd basically wire bundles and different stuff like that would have the quick connects on them, and
Right.
because they all were wired pretty much the same, and we'd go through there and double check to make sure they all work before we'd put them up in supply.
Right.
But that's what we had to do. you know
Mhm. And he
uh
also had the economy was terrible
oh
then
yeah,
too. He was
gas lines,
horrible on the economy. Wasn't he doing what was it, wage and price controls?
wage and price control, yes.
And well, I could say Jimmy Carter's the reason why I moved back to Colorado, because the economy was just so bad in Michigan
Oh yeah,
that
it killed out the auto
my
industry and all of that stuff.
my parents were house painters, and when those people got laid off, especially because we did a lot of painting for people in management,
Right, right.
white collar workers. And when they got laid off, boy, there was just no work for my folks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was slim pickings.
Yeah.
So back in 81, well, right after Reagan got in, and we just couldn't wait around for the economy. We knew
It
the economy was much better in Denver than it was in
right.
Detroit, so we
Yeah.
decided to move back.
And, it took a little bit for Reagan's policies to kick in,
right, mhm,
but, and that's what we're gonna have to watch. Hopefully Donald Trump will get his act together and get it just jump in there, you know,
right,
uh, and I'll be honest with you. I think this whole, buying Greenland and making Mexico another state and Canada another state, that is all smoke and mirrors.
yes,
Because
yes,
what
that
is
was
everybody
all
talking about right
tongue
now?
in cheek.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what is everybody talking about right now? We got 2 countries saying, "Oh, no, you yeah, how about," and even the president of Mexico is saying, "Well, what about, we instead of the Gulf of Mexico changing its name, we'll call it, how about we call this Mexican America, and we'll take from here all the way up to Canada,"
uh,
which is the
yep,
old map, the old Spaniards map,
yep,
from back in
hmm
1870 something, and
yep,
but it's making these countries look inward like, well, wait a minute, if we're that bad that the president of the United States thinks he can just take us over, we're going to have to do something to change that.
uh-huh,
But,
hmm
they're not looking, no, notice they're no longer talking about, uh, his picks for his cabinet. That's just, now it's this whole
right.
Greenland, Canada thing. And
Greenland, Canada.
that's
Oh,
exactly, he's a good salesperson, it's a bait and switch.
right. There was a politician in Canada. He's from Ontario, and he said, "Well, how about we take Minnesota and Alaska and Minneapolis? Minneapolis is not a state.
Yeah,
But
well,
have Minneapolis as long as Tim Walz comes with.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, and they were talking about taking maybe California and, uh, Washington and Oregon. I'm thinking, why not? Let them have it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
But, yeah, Jimmy Carter he was a great humanitarian. He did some
mhm,
fantastic work uh, for the people of this country after
right,
he was out of office. And,
right,
his policies, they just,
yep,
and it really had to do with the fact he was a nice guy. And his
right,
naivete going into this, he might have been good at good old boy Southern politics and being the governor of Georgia.
mhm,
He was because it come down to the fact that while he was governor of Georgia and a former graduate of Annapolis and a war hero for Georgia, right there, he was the big fish in a small pond. But as soon as he hit Washington, he was a little bitty fish in a great big
yes,
pond. And he didn't know, he just did not have you know, a lot of people say being a governor helps, prepare you for being a president. It
right,
depends on what state you're governor of.
yeah,
Ronald
mhm,
Reagan was governor of California. That's a pretty friggin' big state,
yeah.
you know. Uh,
Well, Bill Clinton was governor of
that
Arkansas.
I'm telling you, that was a fluke.
Yeah, yeah, he was what we call a dark horse candidate,
Yeah,
and
he's
he
what I
just
call a throwaway candidate. They threw him out
yes,
there, not they really didn't think he'd win, and when he started,
hmm
you know, uh, and that was the problem because of the George H.W. did not have what Ronald Reagan had. He didn't have that
yes,
charisma. He didn't have that, you know,
gravitas,
yeah, and Reagan may have had to raise taxes too, but he could sell it to you. He had a way
right?
of turning
hmm
around and said, "Okay." And George H.W. was a wonderful man, but he was not, again,
hmm
didn't have what Now George W. Now that guy could, he could BS with the best,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and a lot of times I think saying the words wrong was again, smoke and mirrors. Take that. Listen to what I'm saying, folks. Don't listen to what I mean. I don't want you to know what I really mean, but I'll say something
Right.
stupid and you guys will ignore the stuff that I'm doing over here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Reagan did. He everything if you guys haven't watched it, watch the movie Reagan with
Yes, I'd like to
Dennis
see
Quaid.
that.
That is
Yeah.
a really good movie. There's an Oklahoman in there that we're kind of proud of.
Okay.
Darcy Lynn Farmer from Enid, Oklahoma is on there.
Enid.
You guys might know her from the little girl who was a ventriloquist and won America's Got Talent.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's no dummies. Well, there's probably a few dummies in the show, but there's no ventriloquist dummies in there. And
Okay.
she's actually, because they were talking in one scene, they're talking about Ronald Reagan was, said that he rescued 47 people from the river that he was a lifeguard on. But they think that some of that might not have been actual rescues, but some of the girls were trying to get his attention, like, "Oh, help, I'm drowning," and he'd go do his job. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the girl that they used for that, the girl that they showed that was
Mm-hmm.
Darcy Lynn. Yeah, so
Okay.
she's being picked up by the young, handsome Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, but it wasn't really Ronald Reagan, but, she
No,
also was
no.
not a girl from the 1950s, but,
That'd be back in the
yes, I
30s.
have, Ronnie. Yeah, that
Uh-huh.
would have been back in the 30s, yeah.
Yes, I've also watched Landman. I'm on the fence about that show.
From
So,
what I
but
heard
let's get back to
Oh,
Jimmy
yeah,
Carter.
let's get back.
One thing about Jimmy Carter is there wasn't this thing called lawfare. He never went after his opponents, like
No,
this current, soon to be ex president, and
well,
this
soon enough.
stuff started happening under Obama. When he sicked the IRS on the Tea Party people.
Yep,
And that's when the lawfare really got started. I think it started to percolate during the Clinton administration, but when Obama
yeah.
got in, oh boy.
Well, the Clintons couldn't really start doing that because they already had too
Yeah.
much, too
Well,
many skeletons in their closet.
well, and they're all dead now. Jeffrey Epstein. Uh,
Yeah.
they
Have you
they
noticed
did
that
the old
Monica
fashioned.
Lewinsky isn't? How did Monica Lewinsky survive?
Yeah, I know. I didn't she get a job at Revlon for a while after that? Yeah,
I don't know what she's doing now, but
yeah,
she's married and has kids and doing really
yeah,
well from what, every so often her name pops up and I just saw something on her recently and, you know,
yeah.
I think it's because Uncle Billy Boy did a new biography or something,
Okay.
you know.
Another. Was Amy at the funeral?
Carter? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she was good. Good.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was there and her brothers were there.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
Okay.
even realize he had 2 boys.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
because all you hear about is
All you ever
Amy,
heard
but
about was Amy. Yeah.
I
She's
think
not
the brothers were already grown up by then.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
were she was the baby of the family, but,
Yeah.
yeah, they were grown by the time although, if you look at when his inauguration or, at when the night he won, the election, you the all of their kids are up there. They had 4 kids,
Oh,
and
okay.
I did
Cool.
not know that.
Uh-huh.
Jaybird.
uh,
Yeah. Actually, that's not who got him killed, so she must be doing something special she must have done something special for Hillary as
yeah.
well,
Mhm. Well,
you know?
she
Actually, she did, she
she
kept Bill busy.
Bill busy, and she was a great humidor.
Yeah.
So a little bit, I'll say something about Landman. I think it's a pretty good show. It's just that I think his ex-wife is just so freaking annoying. I like, let's get rid of her. So I'm hoping in season 2, the cartel officer.
Well, I do know they were talking a little bit about that on Bill Thomas's show last night, and Chris Hope was on there. And of course, Chris Hope is in that business. He's very much like Billy Bob Thornton in what he does, and he says that is they do a good job of portraying it. He says that's very much the way it is. He says, he says the stuff we have to deal with, he says is just unbelievable, and so they've kind of made it, because people say, "Oh, that's so fictionalized," and he said last night, he said, "No, not really."
Yeah.
He says that is the sort of stuff that happens, so.
Ronnie said she's moody. Yes, but she's so goddamn annoying when she's moody. It's like, man, it's like Tommy, kick her to the curb, be done with her. Yeah, just deal with the kids. That's it. At least Cooper is the only one that, is somewhat normal, even though he got thrust into some weird shit, but that was
Right.
of his own doing. He wanted to he quit school to work on the rigs.
In the rigs, yeah.
Oh, first day on the job, hey, the whole team gets killed except him. Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of a bad first day.
Yeah, bad first day, and then one of the widows is making a move on him, and and one of her cousins is it cousins? I don't know, but
I don't
he was
remember.
really pissed off and beat the crap out of him, and but he did the right thing by helping that widower, because they were trying to get her down to 250K. He goes, "Nah, try 1 million," and that was what they were, the most they were willing to pay, and he ended up.
Was that when the cartel plane crashed into the? Because one of the first things they showed was one of the episodes where the cartel drug plane crashed into one of the company's planes where it's being used to smuggle.
Yeah, that was I think it was either episode 1 or 2 where one of the tanker trucks ran into
that
the
was it.
plane.
Yeah,
That was
ran into the plane.
landed on the road that they built. Yeah. So, so here's God, I forgot the kid's name. Cooper. He's at that gal's house, and the lawyer and the representative of the company, they want to cut her a check and get her to, not sue them. But since he was in school and he knows all about the workings of how this shit works, and so he said, "Yeah, go for 1 million," and they're like, and so they called up what's his name, Monty, I think is his name. He's the head guy, and he said, "Yeah, all right, let's go for 1 million. I want to fire that kid." He goes, "No, I quit." So
I don't think you're going to see the pink hats and all that crap on inauguration day like you did.
I hope not.
Yeah,
I hope
I know.
not.
I don't, because so many of them are, and he won in, there. It's in my opinion, it wasn't a landslide. Electorally, electorally. Is that the right word? Anyways, in
Yeah.
electoral votes, yeah, he did a pretty good. It
Yes.
wasn't as big as Reagan, where Carter
No.
only carried one state, but
Yeah.
it was still pretty big.
And he carried all the swing states.
He carried all the swing states, and he also won the popular vote.
Yes. Now, didn't he
51.
win Iowa as well?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. He won
All
all
right.
those, every one of those states. He won
Well,
Florida,
Iowa wasn't
Pennsylvania.
a swing state, but everybody was
No, but
saying,
he won Iowa. Yeah, he won Iowa,
mhm.
which they thought he was going to win that anyway. So he won that. He won Pennsylvania. He won uh,
Michigan,
every,
Wisconsin,
Michigan,
Minnesota,
Wisconsin,
Arizona,
Arizona, and Nevada.
and Nevada.
Yeah. So yeah. So I don't think you're going to see the kind of protest because what it seems to be coming down to is the people, including a lot of people in Hollywood now, are to that point that they don't want to put up with that. They're
Yeah.
not putting up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it finally, for the first time in at least 8 years, or probably the last 12 years, that being a conservative, I mean, you can come out and say, you're a conservative. You can wear a MAGA hat around town.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the conservatives that are in Hollywood, they're coming out and talking about it. They made fun of uh, Kevin Sorbo,
Yeah.
John Voight.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what's his name?
Oh,
Wood.
John,
James
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 Wood.
Wood.
yeah, James Wood. Yeah.
Yeah, they made, yeah, Kevin Costner, a bunch of them. They just really gave him crap and pushed him off to the corner. But now all of a sudden, it turns out those people are the ones that are getting the most speaking engagements now.
Yep.
You know,
That's true.
and even the and that's the other thing, the legacy. Anyway, the old timer media, ABCC. I'm having trouble talking when I don't know what in the hell's wrong. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're even coming out and said, one of the most, this is what I found was ludicrous. One of the most underreported stories was the decline of President Joe Biden and how it was covered up, and we it just got underreported, and it's probably we should have pushed a little more and maybe investigate it. The reason it got covered up is because you people didn't investigate. You didn't do shit.
Yep.
It was reported, but by only one station, maybe two. I can
Mm-hmm.
name both of them, and that is Fox News and Sky News in
Yep.
Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only two that have even reported on this.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be it's going to be an interesting I think things are going to turn around. I just hope that I mean, and personally,
Yeah.
I hope that they get right into it and get right to work, and get busy and do it, because they really only have about that first 100 days that they've got 100% focus on what needs to be done. Because after
Right.
that, then we're headed in by a year from now. Those guys are going to be pushing to get reelected, and that first 100 days, we'll probably find out uh, who needs to be primaried.
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, we know that Romney's not going to run for re-election.
thank
So,
God.
and my senator Hickenlooper, he said he's not running for re-election. So it'll be interesting to see who we put up against the Democrat that might run. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
far,
Colorado's lost.
uh, Phil Weiser, our AG, has thrown his hat in the ring for governor of Colorado.
Uh-huh.
This is a guy that had no cash bail. Was letting, I mean, crime just soared under his tenure. And yeah, so I hope he gets knocked out. But the
Yeah.
Jeffco clerk and recorder, she's running for Secretary of State. And she's just as bad as the current idiot we got in there, Jenna
Right.
Griswold, who tried to get Donald Trump off the
Off of the
ballot,
ticket. Yeah.
the primary ballot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brian said he was an independent and he switched to Republican the day that Trump got convicted. And that's it, you know.
Let's see. The other thing we were going to cover, and we almost forgot, tomorrow is supposed to be, we don't know if it'll happen, that he's going to be sentenced by Judge Mershon.
Yeah, we don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do about it.
Right, because the state Supreme Court decided not to,
intervene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, now, Charles, maybe you can remember this, and I may be wrong, but was not this the one, because this is the 147 counts or 47 counts, whatever it is, the ridiculous amount. Weren't those wasn't this whole thing hobbled together as part of the RICO Act? You know, I mean, they used that as a way to.
Well, no, the RICO Act had to do with his charges in Georgia.
Oh, in Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, this was all about the hush money stuff and how it was paid.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's where they come up with 37 felonies from. But I mean, it's ridiculous because all this stuff that they're charging him with felonies for they're saying, oh, you made all these accounting changes and so on and so forth to prevent information from getting out before the election that would have negatively affected your election, negatively affected your race, but it all happened after the election.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think, and
that's right, Jay Bird. Yep.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They want to,
they want
to do it before he's and also, the judge said there will be no jail time, and and from what I understand, there's not even going to be a fine. This is what I've heard so far that the judge said.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's going to be doing, but because Art and I were talking, I was trying to figure out because he mentions the state Supreme Court turned him down, but I think he's asked the U.S. Supreme Court to step in and at least delay the sentencing until after he's
out of office.
Yeah, out of office, because I think some of the argument is that because if I'm not mistaken, he paid his lawyer, but that was after, paid his lawyer back after he'd already become president, and that's where they're and that's where by doing that, of course he wanted, they call it hush money. It was an NDA. She agreed to a settlement, and simply because he didn't want his wife to be drugged, his name along with his wife and son being drugged through the mud, and whether that's the true story or not, I don't know, but I give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he's obviously no saint, but he seems to. He's got a lot
he hadn't done that.
Huh?
We're all wishing that he had just left this tart alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And whether he even had the affair, I don't know. So,
mm-hmm.
It's we don't know.
Yeah,
only him and Stormy Daniels truly know the truth.
And
as long as Stormy's getting paid some money, she's going to keep running her mouth,
Yeah.
Well,
well, guys, we've done an hour. We covered a whole lot of stuff.
You're right, Ronnie.
Glad we were able to slip that. I almost forgot about that. That's going to be historic tomorrow. We'll see if that happens or doesn't. So I want to thank all you folks for coming to the show in the chat, and thank you for coming. And we like your comments. Comments like that helps the algorithm.
Right.
So tell your friends about this show. Let's try to get more people to watch the show, or at least listen to it.
Yeah.
We'll have you after the show, you could go back and rewatch it or re-listen to it. So you all have a great weekend. Don't forget my other show, Art Code Drones and Entertainment, is tomorrow night, which is an hour later, which will be no, it'll be an hour earlier. It goes from 5 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So do your math and figure out how
It's
it works
from
in your
8.
time.
It starts at 7 Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Mountain Time, and 4 o'clock Pacific Time.
All right. Until then, you all have a great weekend. God bless, and
everybody take care. Be safe out there, folks.
Good night, folks.